In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a requested tutorial from my group on how to cut this corset with an asymmetric cup or a pointy cup. So to request a pattern illustration or join our WhatsApp/Telegram class, go ahead to send us a DM on WhatsApp. So to start, here is my pattern paper and I'll go ahead to mark out my basic measurements. So I marked my shoulder to bust 9 inches, shoulder to under bust 12 inches, shoulder to waistline 17 inches, and I added 5 inches for my blouse length. So this is an inbuilt corset. You have to mark 5 inches to get your blouse length. So I'll go ahead and mark this and draw out a straight line. After I'm done marking, I'll go ahead to label it as shoulder to bust, shoulder to under bust, shoulder to waistline, and top length. So next, I will go ahead to start marking my shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 inches divided by 2, I have 7. From there, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. And from that point, I'm going to draw my shoulder slope or my shoulder slant. I'll place my ruler and connect. Next step, you want to find your chest line, which is your bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. Mine is 7, and I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line on this point. So that measurement you have on the shoulder, go ahead to repeat it on the chest line, which is your shoulder divided by 2. So after marking this, go ahead to place your ruler and you're going to draw out a straight line. Now, you're going to divide your chest line into 2. Go ahead to place your tape and fold it and mark. That is the midpoint. Come out by ½ inch. On the chest line, go ahead to mark your bust circumference divided by 4. My bust is 33 divided by 4. I have approximately 8.3. Mark from the midpoint to your chest line, your measurement at the bust, and mark this to the upper part. So after you're done doing this, you're going to go in by marking your nipple to nipple divided by 2. My nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. I'm going to mark this all the way to the lower part of my pattern, place my ruler, and I'm going to go ahead to draw out a straight line, connecting all the marks that I made. Next, you're going to go ahead to draw out your basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches. You need this to serve as a guide to cut out your shoulder dart for this pattern. Now, I'll go ahead and place and I will connect my cup this way. So after I'm done connecting this, you're going to divide the rest of your shoulder into 2 this way and mark. After marking, from this point, you're going to go ahead to connect it to the bust line. So next, you're going to go ahead to mark your dart. And to mark your dart, I'll be marking 1 inch on both sides of my pattern. Now, if you're a plus size or you're a bit busty, you should consider using 1.5 inches on this side. Now, I'll place my ruler and I'm going to draw out a straight line connecting this 1 inch dart that I took on both sides of my pattern. So after I'm done marking that, I'll place my curved rule, connect to the under bust, and also connect to the under bust of the other pattern. So this is what I have, and I'll go out by 2 inches to mark my shoulder dart. So I'll connect this to my bust. If we are making a dress with a shoulder, we are going to replace that intake we took. But since we are not doing that, we'll just go ahead and outline our pattern. So after now, the next step is to go ahead and insert our measurement. At the bust, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4 and add my sewing allowance. My bust is 33 divided by 4, I have 8.3. So I just measured the ½ inch that intake I have there to replace it. At the under bust, I'll mark my under bust circumference divided by 4 and I will replace the dart intake and add ½ inch. The waist, I'll take out about 2 inches from my waist. My waist is 28 minus 2, I have 26. So I'll divide that 26 by 4. It will give me 6.5. I will mark and then replace my sewing allowance and add ½ inch for sewing. For the lower part, I'm going to go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4, measure the dart intake, replace and add ½ inch for my sewing allowance. So I'll go ahead and place my ruler and I'll go ahead to connect my pattern. So after this, you want to determine where your cup will start. I want mine to start 1.5 inches above my chest line and I'll make a straight mark at that point. So now, from this part now, at the upper part, I'll go in by half but while going in, I'll make it a little pointy because the cup is a little pointy. The cup I'm working with or I'm working for is a bit pointy. So I'll go in from this part and I will extend this up a bit, looking at what I have on the pattern. So from this point, I'll start going up. So I'll go up a bit by 1.5 inches from the already 1.5 inches I marked. Now I'll blend in my pattern and measure about 3.5 to 4 inches. So this depends on how high you want your cup to be. And I'll go ahead to blend this in. So I'm still not satisfied with what I have on the cup, and I'll go ahead to readjust it while I'm reconnecting it here. I'll give it a little curve and I will be extending my cup or extending the line to the side. So on my chest line, I'll go in by 1/2 inch and I'll go ahead to connect my cup to that point. I'll go ahead and place my curve drew and I'll be connecting this to the under bust of my pattern. So this is what I have, and I'm going to go ahead to outline this first. So you can turn this to a 3-part corset if you also want. So I'll go ahead and I will reblend my cup to suit what I have there. To work on the side of the cup, I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2 and I'll add 1/2 inch and go ahead to connect. So this is what I have on this part. So for this pattern, the person I'm making the tutorial for doesn't want the very deep neckline, and I'll just go down by 2 inches after my under bust and connect. So let's say if you're working on a basic corset pattern but want it to have a pointy edge, you can just go ahead and create go in by 1/2 inch at your chest line and then just go ahead to curve it up all the way up. Unless you want to go with this same design that we have here, you can just go ahead to do that. So I'll go ahead and label out my pattern as cup A and cup B and center and side. So I'll go up by 2.5 inches and I'll go ahead to blend this down. After I'm done doing this, I'll just go ahead and cut out my pattern. So while cutting out your pattern, if you don't want to leave the center part open, you can go ahead to replace the center part we cut out and use this side and cut out a mesh that will be at the center of your cup. So I'll just go ahead and cut this out, and at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up. So I cut out this corset pattern in 2 ways, with a bust dart and without a bust dart. So this is without a bust dart. To insert a bust dart to your pattern, go ahead to measure your shoulder to waist at the front and shoulder to waist at the back. Go ahead to minus what you have from the back from the front pattern. Like my shoulder to waist in front is 17 and my shoulder to waist at the back is 15.5. So taking out 15.5 from 17, you have 1.5. So I'll place my cup this way, make sure it's matching, mark that 1.5 and extend. So now you're going to blend in your pattern this way to blend out the side that you have there. And now you can just trace this out or cut it out. So next we'll be moving over to the back pattern of this corset. So I've gone ahead to mark out all the basic measurements. So for this pattern, we are using a bust dart, and I'll also be explaining for those that are not using a bust dart. So if you notice, my shoulder to waist is 15.5 and I added 5 inches. So if you are not using a bust dart, you'll be using the same 22 inches for this part. Only difference is that if you are not using a bust dart, when you go up by 2.5 inches by the side, you're going to take that exact measurement all the way to the sides of your pattern. So I'll go ahead and mark a basic neckline of 3 by 1 inch and I'll go ahead to connect. So after I'm done connecting this right now, I'll go ahead to start marking my dart. And to mark your dart is your nipple to nipple divided by 2. So my nipple to nipple is 7 inches divided by 2. I have 3.5 inches. So I'll go ahead to draw out a straight line after I'm done marking that. Next, I'll be marking 1/2 inch on both sides of my waistline. But before that, I'll go ahead to label out my pattern. So next, I'll go ahead and mark the 1/2 inch on both sides of my waistline. Then I'll come down by 1 inch, place my ruler, and I'll connect on both sides of my pattern, and now go ahead to extend it all the way down to the lower part. So after that, I'll go ahead to insert my body measurement at the bust and add ½ inch. Now that same waistline you used for the front pattern that you snatched out, that is what you take here. So this is just to make sure that you don't go ahead to start having extra darts on your pattern. So for the top length, go ahead to mark your hip circumference divided by 4 and add your sewing allowance. So for the waist also replace your dart that you took out there. So the next thing I'll go ahead to do now is to come down by ½ inch here, and I'll place my ruler and I'll go ahead to connect. After I'm done connecting, I'll go ahead and use my marker to outline this. The next step I'm going to take from here now is to mark out the lacing area of this pattern. So you can decide to use 1 inch, 1.5, 2 inches. It totally depends on what you like. Now I'll go ahead and connect this and extend it all the way to the lower part of this pattern. Now I'll draw out a straight line on this part, and after doing that, I'll go ahead and go up by 2.5 inches just like we did for the front pattern. So now you can decide to use 2 inches, 1.5 for this side. So after marking that 2 inches, I'll go ahead and connect this all the way to the end or to the lacing area and make a dot to indicate that I have a lacing at that part. So at this point, if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, please don't forget to hit on the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any question, please go ahead to leave it at the comment section. So this is what the back pattern looks like.